Ready? Okay. So, good morning, everyone. We'll begin with the reflections on universal well-being. May I abide in well-being, in freedom from affliction, in freedom from hostility, in freedom from ill will, in freedom from anxiety, and may I maintain well-being in myself. May everyone abide in well-being, in freedom from hostility, in freedom from ill will, in freedom from anxiety, and may they maintain well-being in themselves. May all be released from all suffering, and may they not be parted from the good fortune they have attained. When they act upon intention, all beings are the owners of their action and inherit its results. Their future is born from such action, companion to such action, and results will be their home. All actions with intention, be they skillful or harmful, of such acts they will be the heirs. So today we'll continue with the story about Ajahn Mun meeting a powerful spirit in the mountains. Just for those who weren't here yesterday, quick review. So Ajahn Mun went to a place where there was a cave that was renowned to have a kind of powerful spirit that would challenge anyone who stayed in the cave. And monks in the past have gotten very sick and even died being in the cave. But Ajahn Mun, being a kind of, if say, curious and confident in his practice, told the villagers, "Yeah, I'm going to go stay in that cave." And they were really scared, and I don't know, it's not a safe place, but he was not to be deterred, so went to the cave, and sure enough, he got very sick. And at one point, he got some medicine, but it didn't really help. So he finally said, "I'm just going to fully depend on the Dharma practice." So he just meditated and reflected deeply on the body, and all the different parts of the body, the experience of pain, basically breaking through layer by layer the skandhas, form, feeling, cognition, and formation at least. And at one point, he actually entered samadhi. His mind completely unified, his heart, mind, chitta unified. And he left his body. And what did he see? He saw this huge spirit, saying here, 30 feet tall, black, dark. And the spirit was carrying this huge metal club, 12 feet long and very thick. And they said to him, "Leave, or I'm going to pound you into the earth. Don't defy my authority." So what does Acharya Mun do? So this is part 2 in our story. So Acharya Mun focuses chitta on this giant spirit, asking why he wanted to club to death someone who had done nothing to warrant such brutal treatment. He reminded the giant that he had harmed no one while living there, that had caused no trouble deserving such deadly punishment. The giant replied that he had long been the sole authority guarding the mountain and would not allow anyone to usurp his authority. he was compelled to take decisive action against all intruders. Acharya Mun's response was reproachful. So Ajahn Mun scolds the spirit. I did not come here to usurp anyone's authority. I came here to carry on the noble work of a spiritual cultivator. For I aim to usurp the authority that the kleshas exercise over my heart. Right? The kleshas are the afflictions, are the fannao. Right? He says, that's what I'm trying to usurp. Harming a virtuous monk in any way is an absolutely despicable act. I am the disciple of the Lord Buddha, that supremely pure individual whose all-powerful, loving compassion encompasses the whole of the sentient universe. Does the great authority you boast give you power to override the authority of Dharma and of karma, those immutable laws that govern the existence of all living beings? Right, interesting, right? He's right here invoking Ottappa, right? This sense of respect for cause and effect, respect for the opinion of wise ones, the Buddha. He's bringing that to the fore. Do you want to live with integrity with the universe, with those who are truly powerful and truly caring? The creature replied, no, sir. Acharya Mun then said, the Lord Buddha possessed the skill and the courage to destroy those insidious mental defilements that like boasting of power and authority. Thus he banished from his heart all thoughts of beating or killing other people. You think you're so smart. Have you ever given any thought to take decisive actions against the kleshas in your heart? Good question. Right? So much of our lives is spent trying to establish our authority, trying to defend ourselves, to get others to do what we want. Wars start this way. Somebody wants to be powerful and control, and people die over it. That person doesn't know actually where the real battle is in our heart. You can see in the real enemy are the defilements of greed, hatred, and that pride, that kind of need for authority. That's the real enemy. That's what's going to kill us and cause us to suffer and many others to suffer. The creature admitted, not yet, sir. You can see he's a little bit tamed here. In that case, such overbearing authority would just make you a cruel, savage individual, resulting in very grave consequences for you. You don't possess the authority needed to rid yourself of evil, so you use the fires of magic against others, unaware that you're actually burning yourself. Now a little bit of Hiri, telling him about his own kind of integrity and saying, by your killing or hurting other people, you're actually burning yourself. You are creating very grave karma indeed. As though that weren't bad enough, you want to attack and kill someone who represents the virtue of Dhamma, which are central to the world's well-being. How can you ever hope to lay claim to laudable virtues when you insist on engaging in evil behavior of such unparalleled brutality? I am a man of virtue. I have come here with the purest intentions to practice Dhamma for my own spiritual benefit and the benefit of others. So pure motivation. Despite that, you threaten to pound me into the ground, giving no thought to the consequences of such an evil deed. Don't you realize they will drag you into hell where you will reap the terrible misery you have sown? Rather than feel concerned for myself, I feel very sorry for you. You become so obsessed with your own authority that's now burning you alive. Can your potent powers withstand the effect of the grave act you're about to commit? You say you exercise sovereign authority over this mountain, but can your magical powers override the Dhamma and the laws of karma? If your powers really are superior to Dharma, then go ahead, pound me to death. I'm not afraid to die. And even if I don't die today, my death remains inevitable. For the world is a place where all who are born must die. Even you, blinded as you are by your own self-importance, you are not above death or the laws of karma that govern all living beings. Right? Ajahn Mun's fearless, looks directly at this spirit and says, you can kill me, I'm not afraid. But aren't you afraid that you're going to die and face the consequences of your actions? The mysterious being stood listening, rigid as a statue, the deadly metal club resting on his shoulder as Acharya Mun admonished him by means of samadhi meditation. He stood so completely still that if he were a human being, we would say that he was so frightened and ashamed he could scarcely breathe. This was a special non-human being, so he didn't in fact breathe. Yet his whole manner clearly showed him to be so ashamed and fearful of Acharya Mun that he could barely restrain his emotions, which he still managed to do quite admirably. He's clearly subdued. Acharya Mun had finished speaking. Suddenly, the contrite spirit flung the metal club down from his shoulder and spontaneously transformed himself from a huge black creature into a devout Buddhist gentleman with a mild, courteous demeanor. Approaching Ajahn Mun with heartfelt respect, the gentleman then asked his forgiveness, expressing deep remorse. Here's the gist of what he said. Now the spirit is a Buddhist layman. I was surprised and felt somewhat frightened the first moment I saw you. I immediately noticed a strange and amazing radiance extending out all around you, a brilliance unlike anything I have ever seen. It created such a profound impact that in your presence I felt weak and numb. I couldn't do anything. So captivated was I by that radiant glow. Still, I didn't know what it was, for I never before experienced anything like it. My threats to kill you a moment ago didn't come from my heart's true feelings. Rather, they stem from a long-held belief that I possess unrivaled authority over non-human beings, as well as humans with evil intentions and lack moral principles. Such authority can be imposed on anyone at any time, and that person will be powerless to resist. This arrogant sense of self-importance led me to confront you. Feeling vulnerable, I didn't want to lose face. So that's actually a very key point, that oftentimes this arrogance of needing to feel important actually comes from deep insecurity, this sense of feeling vulnerable. And so we put on a big show to kind of make ourselves look strong. Even as I threatened you, I felt nervous and hesitant, unable to act on my threat. It was merely the stance of someone accustomed to wielding power over others. Please be compassionate enough to forgive my rude, distasteful behavior. I don't wish to suffer the consequences of evil anymore. As it is, I suffer enough. Anymore, and I won't have the strength to bear it. Acharya Mun was curious about this. You are a prominent individual with enormous power and prestige. You have a non-physical body, so you don't need to experience human hardships of hunger and fatigue. You aren't burdened having to make a living here on earth, so why do you complain about suffering? If a celestial existence isn't happiness, then what type of existence is? The spirit replied, on a superficial level perhaps, celestial beings with their ethereal bodies do actually experience more happiness than humans, whose bodies are much grosser. But speaking strictly in spiritual terms, a celestial being's ethereal body still suffers a degree of discomfort proportionate to the refined nature of that state of existence. The discussion between the spirit and monk was far too profound and complex for me to capture every detail here, so I hope the reader will forgive me for this shortcoming. So this is Acharya Mahabua's comment. So then I'll just conclude here. It says, as a result of this discussion, this mysterious celestial being, showing great respect for the Dharma he had heard, affirmed his devotion to the three refuges, the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha. He let it be known that he considered Acharya Mun to be one of his refuges as well, asking Acharya Mun to bear witness to his faith. So he takes refuge. At the same time, he offered Acharya Mun his full protection, inviting him to remain in the cave indefinitely. So this became a Dharma protector. Had his wish been granted, Acharya Mun would have spent the rest of his life there. This being cherished the opportunity to take care of him. He wanted to ensure that nothing whatsoever disturbed Acharya Mun's meditation. In truth, he was not some mysterious being with a huge black body. That was merely a guise. He was the chief leader of all the terrestrial devas living in that region. His large entourage lived in an area that centered in the mountains in the Nayak and extended over many of the surrounding provinces as well. Acharya Mun's chitta had converged into calm at midnight, after which he had met this terrestrial deva, communicating by means of samadhi meditation until 4 a.m., when his chitta withdrew to normal consciousness. The stomach disorder that was troubling him so much when he sat down at dusk had completely disappeared. The therapeutic power of Dhamma, administered by means of meditation, was the only remedy he needed to effect a decisive cure. For going to sleep, he continued striving in his practice until dawn. Instead of feeling tired after a night of exertion, his body was more energetic than ever. During the months that followed, his meditation practice progressed smoothly, accompanied always by indescribable peace and tranquility. With his health back to normal, sometimes late at night, he would meet the gatherings of terrestrial devas who came from various places to visit him. Devas from surrounding areas had all heard of Acharya Mun, for the mysterious deva who had engaged him in a war of words was now announcing his presence to others and escorting groups of them to meet him. On nights when no visitors came, he enjoyed himself practicing meditation. Okay, so that's Acharya Mun, encounter with a terrestrial deva. So it makes me also reflect, here in River Vihara, what's around us. Amitofo, let's do 3 steps, 1 bow.